whatever, Tuesday, or tell somebody Tuesday what you want to say. It's each and every day. That's as I said yesterday. Tomorrow we'll be talking about something new about the realignment of the college slash university landscape, particularly as it relates to sports and conferences. And today is no different because we found out yesterday that Cal Berkeley, University of California, which is very, I put it this way, Cal Berkeley and Stanford, two of the most prestigious universities on the West Coast, academically, are chatting, are having some conversations with the ACC. So we may go from being the ACC to the APCC, Atlantic Pacific Coast Conference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can happen. Who knows, man? It is so crazy what is going on now with this realignment. Everybody trying to link up with everybody else. Everybody trying to get in sync. But yeah, that's what's going on. Latest news is, Cal, University of California, Berkeley, which reminds me of UNC Chapel Hill, and Stanford, which reminds me of Duke. I mean, yeah, they are in discussions. Let's hear from Adam Rittenberg on the ACC discussing adding Cal and Stanford.
The ACC has been looking at some of these options more quietly for quite some time and trying to be as nimble as it can to pay attention to the realignment landscape. But now we know that Cal and Stanford are in a desperate situation, being two of only four remaining members in the Pac-12. They were both looked at briefly by the Big Ten presidents last week, but ultimately left out in favor of just Washington and Oregon. And I think the door is pretty much closed, at least for the time being, with the Big Ten, which has looked at Cal and Stanford a few times. So it would certainly be unusual, but we're in an age of unusual moves, and geography just doesn't matter as much, it seems like, to these sets of presidents and these conferences.
Yeah, geography really doesn't matter. We're finding it out. We found that out with USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten. I mean, seriously. The Oklahoma, Texas to the SEC really wasn't that dramatic because Texas A&M is already in the SEC. Oklahoma a little farther away, but not that much. But going from one coast to the other coast, literally, with USC, the UCLA, and then now Cal and Stanford, the ACC having conversations around that. Man, it's gonna be interesting. That's all I got to say. Interesting is the word you use when you don't know what to say.
That's got to be tough, though, going all the way across the other coast.
Man, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how you manage that. And then we talked about. I heard one of the coaches from Missouri yesterday, and we commented a little bit on yesterday's show that he said one of the key causes of mental health issues is people not getting enough rest. And if you look at the college students, in intercollegiate athletics, particularly NC2A or whatever, and going to play volleyball team, going to play, I don't know, Rutgers. We keep bringing Rutgers up all the time, but going to play Rutgers on a Wednesday night for a volleyball game, they got to turn around and fly back to L.A., then go to class the next day. That may be on the hyperbole example, but it's gonna be fatigue. Then you got to go sit in class and figure out how you're gonna become and stay a student.
Yeah, it's like they're professional athletes, but then they have class on top of it.
100%. And it's so funny, when the NIL came out, everybody was like, we shouldn't pay them. Then we got to pay them. Then now. They're using these conference alignments to get money, and even though you're gonna hear it's all about the students, and come on, give me a break. This is all about the money, and there's nothing else to really talk about. Students are there, they're there if you would stay in the same conference. But the president from the University of Washington says it's about money's not the real reason why they're moving to the Big Ten. It's about exposure for the athlete. Man, give me a break. Seriously. So anyway, we're gonna chop that up a lot because it's just a different time now. Times they are changing. My main man Nicholas G. Saban, the greatest coach ever coached college football, he chimed in yesterday on said it's gonna be sad to see some traditions go because I mean, like, you know, you got some real true traditions in SEC, ACC, Big Ten across the board. Some of those are going to go away because of the alignment. Let's take a listen how he kind of couched that conversation.
There's a lot of traditions that we've had for a long time in college football, and I think we're in a time of evolution for whatever reasons, and some of those traditions are going to get sort of pushed by the wayside, I think, and it's sad. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent for college football, I guess you have to define what is good, and bad for college football.
Yeah, what is good and bad for college football? Tell me. Nick said. Yeah, I want to know too, Nick. Because things aren't, I don't know. It's just interesting. We mentioned about the travel piece, right? Let's hear from Adam Rittenberg on the logistics of travel for these schools, and maybe he give us some insight on how that's gonna work or play out.
Right. Well, there's certainly a lot of work being done. The thing with the Big Ten is that they'd already started the work in a sense because they knew USC and UCLA were coming into the conference in all sports. And so they've had their discussions about shared charters and you're trying to make the schedules as easy as possible for the athletes and coaches so that it's not just so taxing on their time and energy. But now they're going to have to amplify that with two more schools from the West Coast. And in a sense, it's a little easier just because you have some programs and travel trips rather that are more familiar to those, former Pac-12 schools. But again, ACC, that's in these discussions, are going to have these discussions about Cal and Stanford. They have to look at the travel and the logistics and how it would work out. And they don't have the overall revenue that the Big Ten has, given its media rights situation.
It's interesting. He brought something up. He said shared travel, and I guess I'm trying to figure out what that means.
Maybe the opposing team's going to chip in to help pay.
That maybe it can't be like USC and UCLA. They both have games on the East Coast, so they take the same plane and fly in together. I'm not sure about that. Maybe the shared trip because I know like in the NBA, they have teams sometimes that share the same plane. Yeah, well, it used to be. Now I think it's different, but a few years ago. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers would use the Charlotte Hornets plane or something like that because everybody's not used. I mean, it's one charter, but it just services all of the NBA teams versus, But now each NBA team have their own charter, so
right.
Have their own plane. But yeah, so maybe it's something around that. But it's gonna be interesting to see how all this kind of falls out and comes together because I just see it's all about the money. Because even when you're trying to figure out how you're going to finance it from a, charter plane, that's money associated with that. Everything leads to the dollars and cents. So that's why these decisions are made. So we're gonna have to follow the story and see where this goes. But yeah, it's I had an interesting conversation. I'm gonna talk about that on the side. But tell